4 o'clock and we have a quorum. I'm going to call the Town of Somerville Planning Commission for January 23rd, 2023 to order. The first order of business, the approval of minutes from the meeting on December 19th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Our next order of business is to elect a chairperson and a vice chair for the coming year. Do I hear any nominations?
Nominate Jim Reeves.
Second.
I have a nomination and a second for chair. Any further? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. Need a chairperson. Do I have a motion or nomination?
I nominate Jim Bigley.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a nomination and a second. Any further? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. Next order of business are public hearings. Jesse was informing me about the first two. Would you like to?
Yes, sir. The applicant for items 1 and 2 under the public hearings has requested to defer their application until the next meeting. So in that case, if y'all are willing to defer, there's really no reason to hold those public hearings at this time.
Can I have a motion to defer those two?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, item 3 on the public hearings is the request to rezone TMS number 137-09-01-057 located on Central Avenue, approximately 2.98 acres and owned by 725 Central LLC from Planned Unit Development to Neighborhood Business in Council District 1. Is that petitioner here?
Would you roll it up some on our screens?
One of the first, thank you guys for your time this afternoon. My name is Marty Gunner. I am in the process of trying to purchase the property at 725 Central Avenue. And it's currently zoned in the planning development district and looking to do a neighborhood business. I am a general contractor and looking to have run my business out of the space, as well as in the future have possible self-storage as well as a property. And so I was asked, coming to see if we'd be able to be rezoned to neighborhood business. Properties right in front of it are the neighborhood business, and then the portion that it was attached to the apartments. And they're subdivided that all. And that's what I'm looking for.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this, this item? Seeing none, no one rise to the occasion, I will close that public hearing. We'll move to the next. It's a petition by Dorchester County Community Outreach to annex TMS number 146-1400-009 located on Jameson Road, totaling approximately 3.45 acres, currently zoned CG General Commercial in Dorchester County and will be zoned GB General Business upon annexation in the town of Somerville's municipal limits, Council District 3. I have the sense that this is going to create, cause a great deal of comment. I would ask you to keep your remarks short. Try not to repeat each other. We would like to hear what everybody has to say, but don't just repeat what the other folks are saying. It doesn't do any of us any real good. Now, is the petitioner for this represented? Would you like to?
My name's Joseph Friday. I'm president of Dorchester County Community Outreach, and we use DCC for short because that other takes a little while to say. I'm also joined by Jenny back here, our executive director, and two board members, Frank Dreyer and Kim Ballinger. I know you received some information from us. I'm going to try to be brief, but I'd like to kind of hit the highlights in that. Dorchester County Community DCCO is a nonprofit formed expressly for persons in our community experiencing homelessness. We are a Christian-based organization. Our mission is to provide a safe environment, support services, and an avenue to independence for those that come to us. Our guests voluntarily come to us wanting to leave the situation that they're in. We offer programs like professional, spiritual counseling, financial education, support groups, and job advocacy in order to help our guests. Our facilities operate on a relationship model that meets each guest's individual needs to reach their goals that they have helped set for themselves. Our guest lives in a home environment and assist in the chores of maintaining the facility. They must be capable of seeking full-time employment and live by the rules we've established in the house. The Men's Shelter Home of Hope was established in 2015 with the help of the town of Somerville. It serves 16 men. The Women's Shelter Hope's House was established in 2019 and services 8 women. Since we've opened the door in 2015, 700 men and women have been served by both shelters. In addition to that, our guests, well over 3 times that number, have been referred to other services in the surrounding community through the many phone calls that we've received for help. We meet them where they are when they made the decision to come to us for help. Our intended use for the property happens in 3 phases. First, we reestablish the men's facility, 16 men on this property. The men's facility is currently sitting on a lease property that the current landowners do not want to sell the property or offer us an extended lease on the location. We are currently on a year-to-year lease with the owners of the property. They're not asking us to move, but our long-term visions do not align with each other. So we're looking for something that would be more permanent. The second phase is build and expand the women's facility, move the facility from 8 to 16 women. And the third phase would be to build a support center. We're going to relocate our administrative offices to that site, add meeting space for current and future programs, addressing the guest needs, counseling, education, support groups, and those sorts of things. The need for a warming and cooling center is an area that we've been exploring with Dorchester County. There's not one in Somerville. Just this year, one of the churches has voluntarily opened that, but their intent is not to do that long term. We'd like to emphasize that any activities where we use this facility that the persons involved are not vetted with in our intake procedures, such as a warming center, we will have an extra security present for the safety of the guests, our staff, and our neighbors. We will model best practices for the safety of these type of activities and do that without using public funding. Why are we applying for annexation? I think you know our location that we own is zoned properly in Dorchester County, but because of our location, we have to attempt to annex into the town in order to gain access to the sewer connection through CPW. We would like to be in the town anywhere, as we believe the town's services would enhance many services that we offer, particularly with the safety from the Somerville Police and Fire Departments. We understand that the buffers, setbacks, and architectural review is also more stringent in the town than the county, but we still want to access into the town of Somerville. We intend to try to exceed buffers and setbacks where at all possible for our neighbors. And most importantly, we intend to be a good neighbor. Thank you.
Some questions of him.
Sure. Okay, is there, who would like to speak to this? I will remind you, please keep it short. And if you come up to speak, sign in on the podium, your name and address, so that we get it right for the minutes.
Jim, if you don't mind, there is a petition. I thought I would read that first.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that-
then, allow others to speak. So let me get to that. All right, so, stop proposed homeless shelter near Somerville Place and other residential communities. At the time this was sent to me, there were 676 signatures. Recently, a gentleman named Joseph Friday from Dorchester County Community Outreach, not owned by Dorchester County, contacted Julie at our property management office and asked to be put in touch with a member of the HOA board. I spoke with Joseph on the phone December 16th and was asked to meet with him as DCCO had just purchased property next to our neighborhood and they're looking to be good neighbors. The only information I was provided with at that time was that they presently run the Home of Hope and Hope's House located at 821 Central Avenue, Somerville, and they are planning to build a shelter on the piece of property they purchased right outside of our neighborhood on Miles Jamison Road. A meeting was scheduled for December 20th, and we all, Shakita Walker Larson, Susan Sheldon, Carrie Consalvi, and myself met with him, along with a lady by the name of Jenny Vicini. At this time, we found out that they are planning to build a homeless shelter on the property to the right when you're leaving our neighborhood. It's the commercial property at the traffic light at Beverly Drive, which backs up to Salterton and Saltree. Their plan is to build 3 separate buildings, one for a men's shelter, one for a women's shelter, and one to be used as a warming shelter. They only accept people who are able to work, and their mission is to give these folks somewhere to stay while they build up their finances by working until they can move out on their own. This is said to generally take around 6 months. They perform background checks on everyone and clear them for housing on a case-to-case basis. While maintaining transparency during our questioning, they stated that they have house felons, burglary to be exact. Needless to say, all this is extremely unsettling. They might have a vision, but we do too, to ensure the safety of our children, to protect the people of Somerville Place from potential crime, to keep drugs away from our neighborhood, and to protect our investments from decreased property values. We are working to find out if it's even possible to prevent them from moving forward with this. We will have a fight on our hands. It is imperative that we come together and stand up for our neighborhood. And as I said, it had 676 signatures at the time that was sent to me and the packet went out. There were other, these are all of the signatures. I did have a number of other comments emailed to me as well. I can either read those out loud, or if you want to just go ahead and let folks speak, and then I can say the names of the folks who sent those comments and we'll include them in the minutes. Sorry, I'm trying to get through these
What's
signatures.
the sense of the commission? Do you want her to
Let's
read the comments or?
interim minutes would work. for me.
Okay, that's so bad. You want her? Yeah, it might be best.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. It's unanimous. All right, now who would like to speak to the situation? Ma'am?
Okay. I think we all want to do that. But I'm concerned, because I live at 600 all.
May we have your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
I was supposed to be a boy. But I see children out at the bus stop and it is dark 30. It is dark. I'm afraid these people have no fences, no restraining to come up to the property. And also I've driven by the fancy, another area that to be good. They're filthy, there's trash everywhere. They have, a mother had a guy come up to her, grab her baby, and demanded she buy his blood. I don't, he's taking it down that these people are just good. They're not. I assure you, they are not. and to put them in our property, in our backyard, with our children. We have playgrounds. These people, it happens all the time. I just pray it doesn't happen to us. And I hope you won't let me. And my husband, when he retired and I retired, bought this house, and live in it forever. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But how can you live in it in fear? Because there's no fence, there's nothing. And like I said, he's telling us that this is that he's vetted out all the people. That's not what I've seen at the other, place when I went over. And they also made mention that at 1 o'clock in the morning, the doors are locked. They're not allowed to come back in. Where are they gonna go? They're gonna go in our yards, our garages, our cars, wherever. I just think that there is a better place somewhere. And he was offered other places. He's just determined to be in that backyard. You know, I just think he needs to look at somewhere else. This is not appropriate. You have 5 neighborhoods, people, children, elderly people. It's just not fair to us. Our property value will be in the toilet. It's not fair. We work too long, too hard to get the little bit we have. And then they want to bring this in and put it in their backyard. I totally agree. And I think it's sad if we let that happen. I really do. Because it'll be your backyard next time. Thank you.
It's in some of our backyard.
Ma'am, would you please sign in like you were requested to do so? And put your address there, please.
Not a doctor, really.
I'm Ronald Metz. I live in Somerville Place. I did submit a few comments to the planning committee, and I'll stand by those comments. First, I want to thank you for your service. Second, I believe that everything that's going on right now was a really poor decision made by Dorchester County Council by the amendment and the addition of homeless shelter to one of their ordinances. It wasn't very well thought out. They had no idea that Somerville Place or a community like Somerville Place was going to have this next door. They could put that thing anywhere in Dorchester County in a area that was not within a town limits, which that's exactly what they did. And now I admit it is a Christian organization. Okay. Somerville Place, for the most part, is a Christian community. Being in South Carolina, what else would you expect? And it's made up a lot of working people, a lot of children, a lot of elderly people. They have enough to worry about. Why put something on their back that they have to worry about more? A worse spot could not have been picked. So just consider the widening of Miles Jamison. That's going to happen, and it may happen sooner than we all believe. We had a $800 million county sales tax voted for it's going to run the next 15 years. Miles Jamison's right there sitting. They're sitting right in the middle of where this thing's going to have to be built. Are they going to have to tear down a lot of housing? And I think that's about all I have to say, except if you will consider the bad decision that county council made and don't repeat it. And I still think it's all about getting zoned into the city of Somerville. Okay, and I think it has to do with setback. It doesn't have anything to do with sewer and water. Commission of Public Works, they have to furnish that. They're the only providing authority around here. So that doesn't hold water. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. My name is Gwen Vogel. I live in the Buckshire subdivision, which is right adjacent to Somerville Place. Miles Jameson Road is already overcrowded. The traffic is tremendous, as is. There's not even a shoulder on the road. If you have car trouble or anything else, people have gotten killed walking in the road because there are no sidewalks. And to put a place right almost at the intersection where that light is asking for trouble and more deaths. We're dealing with the Coastal Center, a couple of blocks down the street where they have their own issues going on now. The school buses come through, there's a school and a traffic circle right down the street. There's gotta be a better place. And we don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. And everybody I've spoken with, they don't think they'll be safe. You make promises that you don't keep. You know, you can't keep sick people in a space. How are you gonna keep well people who have issues and things that we don't know about? And we saved our money. I moved from West Ashton about 5 years ago. My whole life I wanted to move to something. I finally got here about 5 years ago, got the house I always wanted. And now you're gonna plot a place like that, that's gonna take down the value of my house and my safety. There are a lot of wooded areas around that place. You don't even have to walk on the street to infiltrate our neighborhood. You know, anybody can see through the back door, go through the woods, and be any place in Buckshire and Somerville. We got a lot of student kids there. It's dark in the morning. It gets dark in the evening. And they're not gonna be safe. So I really wish you would think about it. I mean, if you would live next to a place like that, then put it there. But if you can with big confidence say, no, you don't wanna live next to a place like that, don't put it next to ours. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Becker. I'm a resident of the Bellwood neighborhood. I'm also a local engineer who worked on the intersection there at Miles Jameson and Beverly. So I have decent experience on the traffic studies and things like that that go through on inputting something like a new intersection. So I kind of wanted to come from a different perspective than some of the other opinions and perspectives that we had today. So I do want to begin by saying that I do appreciate the organization as well as our community for working towards creating opportunities for the homeless. While homeless shelters are absolutely necessary in this community, it is important that these shelters be appropriately placed. When it comes to transient housing, it's important that the residents of these shelters have the opportunities they need to succeed. In this instance, a shelter like this needs to be placed in a more navigable setting. Ideally, the shelter would be located within walking distance to commercial areas and services to allow the residents access that's not dependent on a car. In a situation where walkability is not an option, a shelter would be located near public transportation. Miles Jameson is in very narrow road, as we mentioned already. There's no sidewalks, there's no shoulders. Immediately roadside ditches right off the edge. Not only does it not have sidewalks, but it doesn't have room to walk at all. Attempting to walk Miles Jamison down to the closest grocery store, which is a Food Lion. I think it's around maybe a mile, just over a mile, could cost someone their life. Putting these residents in a situation where their only option to get groceries involves risking their safety is irresponsible. Without adequate transportation infrastructure, the shelter will not be able to serve the residents with the opportunities that they truly deserve. While it does solve the immediate issue of housing by providing a bed to sleep in, it does not take into account accessibility needs of the residents. Without the ability for residents to get to places without a car, the shelter simply acts as a Band-Aid to the bigger problem. This shelter should not be just a Band-Aid. I'm not against the shelter. In fact, I think it's a huge step forward that our community needs to take. I just want to see this as a true solution that serves the homeless community by giving those in need every possible opportunity to succeed, rather than placing residents in an isolating vacuum that does not aid in long-term solutions. Thank you for your time.
Excuse me, Mr. Becker.
Yes,
You said you're an engineer and you worked on the intersection there at Beverly Drive.
that's right.
What was the traffic count that,
I don't recall offhand what the traffic count.
can you give me an estimate, sir?
No, sir. We
Okay.
finished construction over a year ago. I did the I'm a water resources engineer.
All right.
So I did.
How many
drainage.
homes are back, served by Beverly Drive?
That road is steep.
Yeah, I know.
How
how many-
We have, in Bellwood, I think we have approximately 60 homes.
60 homes.
in our-
What is the traffic that you'd estimate that this, facility would generate on a daily basis?
I do not know.
Okay, if the residents don't have cars, there would not be any significant traffic there. Would you agree with that?
Right, I'm just saying.
Okay.
From a,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
All right.
Hey, council, how you doing? My name is Jason Kane. I live in the Buckshire neighborhood as well, and I appreciate your allowing me the opportunity to speak today. Few things I just wanted to reiterate. The petitioner actually stated that they were looking, and I do see it as a good Christian thing to do, is this venture taking on the homeless challenge, and it's great, and I applaud it. But it doesn't seem to be in line with the petitioner's statement that they want to be able to expand in the future. You got a little more than 3.5 or just under 3.5 acres of land that's surrounded by neighborhoods on all sides. There's a church there, Buckshire neighborhood, Somerville Place, and the other neighborhoods on Beverly Drive. Where are they going to expand to? Unless Somerville is looking to increase their fiscal budget to then put services on the fringe of the town in an area, I don't know where they're going to put it. It seems to be a problem. This location doesn't have access to any governmental or non-governmental services, social services, or any other needs that a homeless person would generally need access to. So you're creating a transportation requirement on people who don't have traditionally any type of transportation to get to those things. Bus stops. Where's the bus stop they're going to use? It's down Miles Jamison Road, or it's in Charleston County, it's in Dorchester County. Where is it? Because it's not, I mean, they're gonna have to walk down Miles Jamison Road. I know we've already beat that horse a little bit, but that is a significant issue, right? The safety of the residents, not just the residents at this facility, but also the people that are transiting Miles Jamison Road, which is anybody that travels down that road daily knows is a nightmare. The location of this plot of land, right? It's on an area that's not in the town of Somerville. And if you do pull it into the town, it's on the fringe of the town. So it's already going to start straining your first responders, the police that are going to respond, the ambulances that are going to respond, the fire that's going to respond, which is going to subsequently require a need for fiscal increase in your first responders, right? It's also going to place an undue burden on Dorchester County and Charleston County to then respond to their fringe, right? So I think there's just a better location. We can, if the council will be grateful enough to committee this and look and see if there's a better suitable location, like the previous gentleman just said, where they're going to have better access it's going to be a better place for everyone involved, not just the residents, not just, the people that aren't there as well. My last question is, why are they moving? What's the reason for their moving? I understand that the petitioner said that the landlord and them, they are having a difference of, sorry, I don't forget the exact words, but they're having a difference of opinion on which direction they want to go, right? Why are they moving? I mean, I know they're saying they're vetting their people, but people that tend to be homeless, they're not necessarily rule followers, in my experience. I have a little bit of that experience. So if they're not rule followers, then what do we have? All these other homeowners that are here in the room with you, they're worried about what's going to happen when they're at work, right? What's going to happen to their property? Again, thank you. I just think there's a better place for this Christian wholesome venture. It's just not at the end of Beverly Drive on Miles Jamison Road. Thank you for your time.
All right, we're beginning to repeat ourselves, so if there's anybody else, one or two more. All right, sir.
Wayne Hannah, H-A-N-N-A, Bellwood subdivision. I live diagonally across the street from proposed projects going in. The reason I'm here tonight is 12 years ago, the biggest selling point we had when we bought into Bellwood was a 54-acre park going in directly across the street from where this shelter's gonna go. And I'm wondering, are our kids more valuable, our grandkids more valuable, or is this more valuable? Because there's gonna be a park in there, it's gonna be playing fields, athletic fields, it's for the children. I mean, this thing here is good. I'm not in my backyard type of guy. I believe in helping the homeless tremendously, but there's no way for them to get back and forth to work. There's no way for them to walk. I think down by Oak Brook would be a whole lot better place because there's more opportunity down there, and there's a lot more. You contract Carter to actually come down that way and even service North Charleston and Charleston. So that's all I got to say is we're here for that park, and that was supposed to have been 12 years ago. They told us within 2 to 4 years we're gonna start building this right there by the Coastal Center. Just directly across the street. That's all I got to say.
All right, I thank you. All right. One more.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lori Kolchinsky. I won't have you spell it, but
Just write it down on the paper for us.
oh, you'll see. I moved to Somerville and purchased my home in 2010. I happily retired, lived there by myself. It's a wonderful community inside of Somerville Place. Their mission is wonderful. I've dealt with homeless people for over 40 years, and I've seen the tragedies that happen through that also, with people taking their own lives and many horrible things. Homeless shelters are needed. This is a total residential community. They have a mission and they want. So they've applied for grants. They've gotten over $1 million for the COVID fund, which, ultimately came from people paying taxes. They are a nonprofit organization, fully understand that. So are the churches. There's no money that will come back into Somerville as a result of this. They want to annex, they want. And where does it stop? They're not putting back into the community other than housing people, which is admirable, totally admirable. But on the whole, it doesn't benefit us as neighbors. I could literally walk out my front door, look down the street, and see a homeless shelter. That's not what I envisioned when I moved into Somerville Place. And more trees are being cut down, just more. Their mission's great, just it's not right to keep on wanting and wanting and wanting. They'll have sewage, they'll have water through Dorchester County, they'll have police. They will have all the benefits. But to keep on wanting and wanting and wanting, it's getting definitely out of here. So that's really all I had to say. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
I think one more and then we're gonna close the hearing.
My name is Chris Sierra. I live at Lakes of Somerville, which is just a development away from the proposed site for the homeless shelter there. One thing that I have not heard addressed here is the fact that being in the middle of a several residential communities, there are school bus stops all around that area. Some of those school bus stops, one right in our area, just the distance of a block from my home, is directly in front of a forested area. You're bringing socially less than responsible people into these areas where kids are out there right now. This time of the year, it's dark. The kids are out there in the dark. They're some of them have parents that are sitting there in vehicles waiting for school buses to come pick them up. Some do not. Children are being put at risk here. Children who might not always have an accompanying parent at the bus stop with them, might not always have protection. You're putting a lot of children at risk if you validate this and you allow this to go through. Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, we're going to close the public hearing and move on. You have something different?
Hi, I'm Sean Khan. I do not live in this area. I need to be the voice of the homeless people that we have just thrown under the bus, talked about how they litter, how they're dangerous. On my street that litter and they're not homeless. I have people on my street that I feel are dangerous and they're not homeless. It takes a village. If we're gonna send our kid out at dark 30 to a dark bus stop, we need to be a parent that's there, regardless if it's a homeless person that's going to drive by them or an employed person with a, multi-million-dollar house, because there are bad people everywhere. My Sunday school class cooks dinner for the homeless shelter a couple times a month. I have never been to either of the men's or the women's shelter ever when I have seen any litter on their ground. When I am in the shelters, they are clean, they are organized, they are more tidy than my house. Okay, I mean, these people, they will have a job. They're not sitting around playing PlayStation through the day. They will be out at a job. They most likely will not have a car to cause extra traffic. They might, but if we've got 32 people, not many cars. The reason that it needs to be done is because the women's needs to be expanded from only serving 8. So whoever was asking what the reason was, and the reason for the men's, because the lease is not going to be continually renewed. Why throw the money out the window to rent a property? So I just feel bad that the people we're talking about, who are all human beings that we are just one step away from a tragic mistake in our life that could make us homeless. Everybody wants them to be housed, but nobody wants them in their community. I would welcome that.
Order, please.
If I lived in one of those places, I hear them. I hear what they're saying. I understand it. But I hope that if it was going to go in my community, I would be accepting of it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Klutz. I live on 409 Salterton. And that whole tract behind Saltree all the way up Salterton is a 77-acre plot that the developers say they have no plans to deal with. If you put a warming shelter right there, all it does is invite all the people that live in the woods off of Ladson right in behind our houses to go in there on a cool night. And those people, I've seen the same woman stand on the corner for 6 years. As long as I've stood in there, they do not want no help. They'll just take whatever's given to them. And then they'll live right behind our houses and do whatever they want while we're at work. Those are our big concerns living in Somerville Place, is inviting all of that into there. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, public hearing is now closed. Next on the agenda. Okay, we have a request to rezone TMS number 13612041121 629 Parkwood Drive, approximately 0.38 acres and owned by James C. and Tina J. Home from GR5 General Residential, 5 units per acre, to Neighborhood Business in Council District 1. Is that petitioner here? Hi.
My name is Nancy McEwen. I actually work for TEPCO. We're a general contractor, and I'm just here on behalf of the owner of the property, as well as the tenant that's adjacent to the property that's actually using the property and would like to continue using it. So do I just explain the situation?
Yep, they just,
Okay, I think there's some visuals, Jesse. So the corner property there is the restaurant for Fish Camp. And currently the one adjacent to his property behind is two structures are on there. One is a house structure and the other one is a shed. He uses for dry storage and office space. And he would just like, and the owner of the property would like to rezone it to neighborhood business. And right now it's neighborhood. So it is being used and it just unfortunately has never gone to the board for rezoning properly.
all right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address this action? If not, we'll close that public hearing and move on. Let's see, we have some street names tonight.
Yes, sir. So the first is Phase 4 of Limehouse Village. They have 2 names needed. And there were only 2 names that were approved by the counties as having no conflicts, and that was Osprey Ridge Lane and Split Leaf Lane.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept both names for Limehouse Village Phase 4. And I vote for Morisco for the apartment complex off of Limehouse.
Are we combining those?
Yes.
Or two different?
They're two-
They're two
okay.
different actions.
So your
I'm
motion is
sorry.
is
I
to
will-
accept the two
I'll
names from
split that into-
Limehouse
I'll
and
split that into
Morisco
two.
for,
I'll split that into two.
oh, okay.
So let's do the first one,
Do I have a second on the,
accepting.
all right, I have a motion and a second on Osprey Ridge Lane and Split Leaf Lane. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Now, the apartment complex off Limehouse Drive.
I moved for the name to be Morisco.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion? She likes shrimp
it out.
better than. Okay,
I just like the sound of it better.
okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we have deferred the next two items of business. And we have the request to rezone, let's see. TMS number 13709010057, located on Central Avenue, approximately 2.98 acres, owned by 725 Central LLC, from Planned Development District to Neighborhood Business and Council District 1. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. All right, the petition by Dorchester County Community Outreach to annex TMS number 14614000009, located on Miles Jamison Road and totaling approximately 3.45 acres. Currently zoned CG General Commercial in Dorchester County and will be zoned GB General Business upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits, Council District 3. Do I have a motion?
My name is Denise Austin. I live on Miles Jamison Road. Could you please repeat what you just said about a commercial area on Miles Jamison Road? Please, sir,
Please sit down, ma'am.
would you repeat that, please?
I will repeat it if you will sit down, maintain
Thank you.
order. The parcel in question is currently zoned as commercial general in Dorchester County. The nearest comparable zoning in the town is general business. They both carry the same thing. At present time, the petitioner could build what he is asking to build on that property without objection. It is under the council, under the Dorchester County zoning. It is appropriate for that parcel.
So we have no objections to that. We can say an opinion on that.
No, ma'am, you may not. That has already been done. Now, again, to the commission. Do I have a motion on this?
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
May I go?
Absolutely.
Jesse, may I ask you, under the terms of the CPW, the petitioner is required to seek annexation to town first. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Town code actually requires that,
Okay.
that any property adjacent to the town limits that is served by Somerville CPW must request annexation before CPW can serve them.
Okay. And so that's a requirement. They had to come and seek this request. But if it's denied by the town council, can the petitioners thereafter obtain sewer from CPW?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so our annexation or non-annexation will not stop this construction of the homeless shelter. Is that correct?
As far as I'm aware, it will not stop it. That's
Okay.
correct.
Your Honor, it will affect the footprint, which greatly affects all of our security.
Now,
Please.
can you put the plat up there, Jesse, please?
Yes, sir.
It shows that the individual lots there in green have a buffer built in on the property there between that and the proposed annexation site. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. There does appear to be an HOA area.
Okay. And under our town code, if the petitioner comes into the town, they will be required to place an additional 30-foot buffer zone between their property and the adjacent property. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And that buffer zone must be filled with vegetation? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
There's a vegetation requirement.
Okay.
Do we know what the required buffer in the county is?
I don't know for certain.
Yeah, I tried to research it and couldn't find out.
In one place, it looked like it was 50, and in another place, it looked like it was something else. So I'm not entirely sure. I tried to touch base with Dorchester County and just wasn't able to catch up with them. So I can't confirm that, sir, for certain.
Right.
Your Honor.
May I continue?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to ask the gentleman from Dorchester County Community some questions, please, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
Do you currently operate the homeless shelters for men on Central Avenue and also for women, correct?
We do, yes.
And previously you operated the Palmetto Home, which is a homeless shelter some time ago?
We did not. That was a different organization that ran that shelter.
Okay. Currently, you require background checks on all of your staff who work there, is that correct?
We do.
And before any guest is allowed to come into the property as a resident, do you do a SLED background check on them?
We do.
If someone has a sex offender status, are they allowed to be a guest in your property?
A sex offender cannot be a guest at our property.
Okay, so there'll be no sex offenders permitted on this property.
Yeah,
There.
that's with location to school around schools, which is an effect on Miles Jamison also.
Okay. And you also have 24-hour video in and around the property, is that correct?
We do, yes.
Okay, so you can monitor if anything goes on. You have a video record of it that's accessible by yourself and also the police.
That is correct.
Okay. Residents can only gain access to the facility through a special digital card, is that correct?
We have that card at the women's shelter right now. Our plans are the same system when we move to Miles Jamison. Our existing shelter, the Home of Hope, does not have that card access to there, but in that shelter, we do lock the doors at 8 o'clock. We do understand when guests are coming in that we're working night shifts and they are allowed access at that point.
Okay, but your new shelter that you propose here will have access cards?
Absolutely, yes. And
So
not only a card, but they also have to key in a code at the same time.
So it's unique per guest.
That's right. They can't hand a card to somebody else and gain access.
So each time a door is opened, you'll have a record of who actually opened the door by the access card in addition to the video camera.
That is correct.
Okay. Now the persons who seek to be residents in your facilities, are they required to seek employment?
They are, yes,
Okay. And do you assist them in seeking employment?
we do.
All right. Do you have any tolerance for drugs or alcohol on your premises?
There is no drugs or alcohol in the presence.
Okay. Now,
Excuse, we did not do this to you when you were speaking, so do not do it while we're speaking.
do you have a policy of conducting, first of all, random drug and alcohol testing of residents?
We do, yes.
Okay. And if you have a suspicion that a resident is under the influence of drugs or alcohol, do you have the ability to do a specific testing of that individual?
We have the right to do that, yes.
Okay. What if somebody seeks access to your facility who is homeless but has severe mental health issues?
We really don't have the support services to help with that, so we try to refer them to other services.
Okay, so persons that we see homeless with obvious problems would not be eligible to come to this facility.
We do not have the ability to help them at this time.
Okay. And do you have a contract with each resident concerning the rules that they must abide by during their stay?
We do, and if they violate them, they're asked to leave.
Okay. Let's talk about the warming shelter. That's that's going to be in a separate building, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you'll also use that building for your office facilities, is that correct?
We'll have our administrative offices there, and then there's also a large room that we can do training and provide other services for the guests.
Okay. And does DHEC from time to time issue advisories concerning either the heat or the cold weather, and so that warming shelters can open up?
Yes, they do.
And what is the procedure if one of those criteria are met? It's either too hot or too cold. How do you propose dealing with a warming shelter there?
Yeah, so actually the warming and cooling center came up because we've been working with Dorchester County for other reasons we might use that room. So I can't give you every policy and procedure that we would have in that case, but we're going to work with the other agencies, and we'll employ best practices whenever we open the shelter like that.
And the shelter will, first of all, will it be monitored by video as the rest of the premises?
It will also have all video surveillance in that, and there'll be access into that shelter.
And in the letter you provided to us, you indicated that there would be a police presence there during the time that the warming or cooling shelter is open?
Yeah, we're committed. If we have guests coming and using the facilities at any time that aren't vetted through our normal intake process, we will provide extra security.
Okay, so you'll have actual security present at the warming shelter. You won't have to call them if there's a problem.
That's correct.
Okay. And you understand that you'd have to put a 30-foot vegetation buffer around the property between any homeowners and your property?
Absolutely. And in discussions with the board, we'll also provide a solid fence the entire length of the back of the property.
You will put a fence in?
Yes.
Okay. And what type of fence do you propose doing?
A solid wood is, I don't know definite for sure, but a solid wood fence is what I envision being there.
All right. I've got some more things, but does anybody else have any questions for this gentleman?
I do, but
Okay, go. I'll yield to you for the moment.
one of my first questions is, are you modeled after 180 Place in Charleston?
We are not, we're very different than 180 Place. That's kind of a fast housing model. We're more relationship based, where we kind of work on their needs and stuff while they're working for self-sufficiency.
Because I've been a supporter of theirs for a long time, simply because they seem to equip their clients with the ability and education and help to move up and out of the situation and rejoin communities. I do think that there are lots of people who are just several steps away from being homeless, and I do know of great need for that in our community. I also am very much aware that those who are in the woods and who are voluntarily committed to maintaining the style that they have will probably never come to your facility.
Yeah, I believe you're correct there because we do have the rules that live by, and a lot of those folks there won't abide by those rules. So they're not candidates to be in our shelter.
So they will continue to camp out on anyone's property that cannot successfully keep them off. And that's a shame. However, I have other questions, but they have currently gone right through my brain. So if anyone else has a question,
I had a couple more, just follow up.
Yep.
Is there a curfew that you propose in this facility?
Yeah, we do have a curfew at 8 p.m. Of course, if someone's working nights, that we know that, and we can know when they come and go from the shelter.
But unless they have an evening shift job, then they are required to be in and locked in by 8 p.m.
That's correct. If they have no job, we expect them out early looking for jobs and then back by 8 o'clock, p.m.
Okay. And then let me address something else that sometimes comes up. Do your residents eat at your facility? Is there a kitchen there?
There is, yes.
Okay. And do they each take turns working and cooking and cleaning up the kitchen?
They do, yes.
And is the kitchen open to homeless people outside your facility?
No.
Okay, so the people who are in these encampments who do not meet your criteria for residencies cannot come for breakfast, lunch, or supper. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so there won't be any outsiders coming in on a regular basis for meals or things like that.
That's
Only
correct, yeah.
people who have met your SLED criteria, excluding sex offenders, and people who agree to look for a job and who agree that they will leave immediately if they break any rules. Is
That's
that correct?
correct.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Kevin?
my other question was, one of the points that was brought up was the size of the property and whether or not you see your mission expanding beyond. How is this just going to be a limited?
Yeah, so the growth that I talked about earlier was reestablishing the men's shelter, the growth of expanding the women's shelter, and the growth of adding the support center. So that's what we have proposed at this time. Yeah.
So you don't see growing it to be a much larger facility?
No. 16 is a really nice model where our staff can basically case load those folks and kind of keep track of them and keep them moving there. You had mentioned earlier 180 Place, they do fast track them, but we also track our guests, and we're encouraging our guests. The average stay is about 6 months in order to establish the correct amount of money that they would need to get an apartment so they can sustain themselves and not turn around and be back homeless. So we do those services also.
Okay.
Kevin?
My personal experience in a different place, not Somerville, is that places like this would always be in a
You could tell,
commercial
couldn't
or a retail area where the residents, the clients, there were sidewalks, there was public transportation. They would be independent to go find things like that. I would not walk down Miles Jamison Road any time of the day or night. I am petrified driving down there. I'm going to kill somebody because there's just no way. If it's dark in the morning, I don't go out down there. I just don't. I think the location, unfortunately, because you can't walk to anything. Your resident, if they had a job at Food Lion, couldn't safely walk to Food Lion. And if I wouldn't walk that road, I wouldn't want anybody else to do it. So I think, unfortunately, there are other places like, light industrial, light commercial, light retail, where a lot of these, where I came from, that's where they went and they were successful. But in a residential area like this, it just wouldn't work for a lot of reasons, particularly they can no longer be independent. They have to wait for a ride from somebody or transportation somewhere. And if they're independent to go out in the morning to go to work, whether walking on the sidewalk or taking the public transportation, there seems to be a higher point of success than waiting for someone to drive me back and forth all the time. So, thank you.
Anyone else have questions?
Excuse me, sir. May I ask two questions?
No, sir.
May I?
No, sir. You folks have all had your chance to speak earlier. The motion is before the commissioners. We have to get the information that we need to make a proper.
As far as last year, report on the accessibility of the shelter to its residents. I'd imagine that was something that was part and parcel of y'all's thought process before you purchased the land and.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
So there seems to be some concern about how are the people who are served by the shelter going to safely access the shelter, since by and large they don't have vehicular transportation.
Yeah.
Or some rotary lights.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have similar problems on the Central Avenue Road. And I guess you could argue one's worse than the other, but both of them are very hard areas to navigate. We did consider that. We've looked for 2.5, 3 years for a piece of property that was zoned correctly in Dorchester County, and the ability to zone into or annex into Somerville. Although traffic might not be ideal, most of our guests are navigating traffic all across. Some of them ride 10 to 12 miles a day on a bicycle to access their employment. So they're on all the roads around Somerville, and we all know that those are very busy. And we'll work with anybody that we can in order to try to improve the traffic situation, particularly on Miles Jamison Road.
Anything else?
I don't have any more for this gentleman here. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, fence on the side, because my yard is like right there on the side, you can build a fence on the side. Instead of just the back and the side,
The back and the side, so.
yeah. Cause there's a residential yard right there on the left.
Yeah, so there already is a fence right there.
Okay.
And then we'll provide a fence all the way down that side.
Right, it's no longer there, the fence is no longer there.
Well, we will fence that side. of it.
We already have people walking through our yards, dropping drug care, and stealing things out of our yards from Upshire. And
The question.
Yeah,
Please.
if the fence is not there,
I'm sorry, this is not a debate.
Well, sir, the organization will commit to that, so.
Charlie, you had a comment?
Yes, I do. For 20 years, I served the families of this community to educate their children. And the one issue, and I appreciate Chris's comments, that these children have enough to be concerned about just this day and time with just daily happenings in our schools. And they would have this situation to give them more fear, and their children do not need any more fear. And so I cannot support this close to a school at any place.
Is any other commissioner have anything to say right?
Yes, just a few things more. I've been to the shelters, and for those of you concerned about your children and your families, I brought my children there. I brought my parents there. I brought my grandchildren there. And the people who are there are not people you need to be concerned about. Those are not the people out in the encampments. These are hardworking people who want to get out of there. I was in there with my grandson bringing coats that we collected one fall for the homeless there. And I ran into a gentleman who was a high school classmate of mine. He had been laid off. He lost his job, lost his house. was living in his car, and the shelter was the only thing that would keep him out of his car. And he got a job and got back on his feet and successfully moved out of there. I also met women in the women's shelter who were victims of spousal abuse, domestic violence. They had nowhere to go. They were living in their car. They came to the shelter and they found a refuge. Otherwise, they would be forced to go to these encampments there. This organization provides hope, provides opportunity for those abused people who seek to improve themselves. This is not the mentally ill. This is not the sex offenders. These are people who want to improve themselves and just need some assistance. The comments today remind me of comments years ago when the Children in Crisis sought a zoning change to go on East Richardson Avenue. All of this same parade of horrors was listed. People came and testified here about how the Children in Crisis, if it was placed in the neighborhood, was going to bring violence, drugs, crime. I live a block from the Children in Crisis, and I'm proud to say it's a good addition to our community. Just like they promised to do, the landscaping is nice there. They have security there. You can't get in or get out of Children in Crisis, just like this place. And so the concerns, I understand your concerns. I raised 5 children in this community. I have 8 grandchildren. I value their safety as much as you value the safety of your loved ones. But I'm going to vote in favor of this because this is the Christian thing to do. God has asked us to take care of those less fortunate, and I'm giving you my reasons publicly.
And because of your attitudes, you may have lost a supporter.
Okay. Questions? Any further?
Nothing.
Anything further? All right, I'm going to call for the question. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. We have 2 opposed,
2 noes?
2 noes.
I thought I
Kevin,
saw 3.
Charlotte,
Oh, three no's.
3
3
noes.
noes. Okay.
Okay. So
4.
Betty, Charlie.
Betty, Charlie, and
and
three.
Yeah, Betty, Charlie, and Kevin were opposed.
Yes.
And Tom, Elaine, myself, and Jim are in favor. Well, one way or the other. Yeah.
Say no, give us the big.
So. So it passes on a vote of 4-3.
Okay.
And the next order of business is the request to rezone TMS number 136-1204-112 629 Parkwood Drive, approximately 0.38 acres, and owned by James C. and Tina J. Horn from GR5 General Residential, 5 units per acre, to NB Neighborhood Business in Council District 1. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. It's unanimous. Miscellaneous. The only thing I have under miscellaneous is it's a new year. So we have new educational requirements, continuing education requirements.
Doing the one tomorrow.
So be looking at that. I think Tom is the only one exempt from that. Foxy guy.
I did lots of education.
Yeah. Do you have anything else? Then I will entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye. in favor?